All the constellations cover the sky, perfect, and devour. Suyu travels from the Lord of Secrets to cover the sky, his golden fingers revive, and embarks on a journey of seeking the way. With the heavenly demon jar in hand, he is the only descendant of the Empress. Dark turmoil, he fights supreme, quelling the dark turmoil. Swallowing the starry sky, he traverses the universe and intimidates all races. Above the imperial gate, he pointed his sword at An Lan and asked the heavens who was the most powerful. Starting from a mortal body, step by step climbed to the pinnacle of the ultimate Tao, achieving eternity. Keywords of the novel. Covering the sky. Starting from the heavenly swallowing demon pot with no pop-ups, covering the sky. Starting from the heavenly swallowing demon pot with TXT complete collection download, covering the sky. Starting from the heavenly swallowing demon pot with the latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Xiangu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Xiangu, the Immortal Era, Boundary Sea. Infinite chaos, vast like a dream. This is the intersection of millions of worlds, a forbidden area for those who control reincarnation, and the ultimate destination of countless great realms. Here, time is indescribable, space has no boundaries, countless black waves surge, and a drop of water is an ancient world. The mist is hazy, and the floating light reflects. In each brilliant beam of light, there is an infinite world, with countless worlds born and destroyed in every moment. This is the heaven and earth of those who cross the cycle of reincarnation, the place where all things wither. The sun and moon are shadowless, floating and never resting. In the endless stream of gray, a purple light breaks through the boundary, enveloping a dim true spirit. Surrounded by a vast and silent mist of chaos, the vast void has neither the beginning nor the end. Countless chaotic energies surge and fluctuate in the boundless realm, creating unique folds that interweave into slender curves. Within each silk thread, there are black and white two energies, which are the most fundamental chaotic Tao principles. Confusion is too simple, stripping away the void, and then evolving into yin and yang two energies. Tao generates one, one generates two, two generates three, and three generates all things in an instant. The original chaotic path gave rise to the myriad paths of heaven and earth. In the hazy light and shadow, a silver light divine tree holding the universe's Milky Way appeared faintly. The light of the void flowed, and the vast and chaotic world, with no trace of time, quietly passed away in it. This silver thread contains the boundless void, the stars and rivers of the heavens. At the gathering place of starlight lies a purple ancient temple, with the rules of the entire world haphazardly appearing at the corners of the eaves. Endless chaotic airflow mixed with some time, rivers lay horizontally around the temple. One small vortex after another was born and died beside the ancient temple. Above the vortex, great cultivators opened up billions of continents, mountains, ancient cities, immortal realms, and countless small worlds of stars. Hengsha is like a boundary, countless. Dang, the sound of the morning bell shook the Milky Way, as if at a certain designated moment, the owner of the ancient temple had not appeared. A ripple appeared on a slender river of time, and within the river, the sound of the vast avenue was heard, which was very blurry and gradually became clear. In the river, suddenly there was a blue light soaring into the sky, which turned into a long sword with a clanging sound and an incredibly strong wave of reincarnation. It wanted to break through the constraints of time and truly descend upon this space and time. The shadow of this long sword has just appeared, as if it can confine all the Tao in the world to the sword body, which can control time and space. The surrounding Tao has undergone varying degrees of distortion and erosion. The source of virtual shadows does not seem to exist in reality, but rather in the reflection of the river water, which is incredibly hazy and arises with the appearance of reflection. Chaos will come to an end. The calamity of the earth has reached. The tribulation of yin and yang is boundless. The path from ancient times to the present is boundless, and I am returning. The vast sound of the Tao echoed, and the ancient temple trembled slightly. The chaotic atmosphere also began to surge. In the ancient temple, a purple-boned skeleton dressed in a sky-blue Taoist robe sat quietly on a withered leaf bun. After the sound of the Tao filled time and space, its figure seemed to move, and a wisp of spiritual light suddenly appeared on its skull, then it fell silent again. Next to the purple-boned skull is a tightly sealed purple light sphere. The unknown presence inside the sphere of light began to gradually fade away under the suppression of the regular divine chain and 480 million runes. The purple light circulated among the runes, and a slightly transparent purple sphere began to form. The figure inside was only left with a faint dark light, which would disappear at any time. Then it slowly transformed into a sword shape. Just as the sword shape was about to take shape, it became spherical again, began to reshape, and finally stabilized its form, like a fish decoupling into a river, disappearing into the cracks of time and space. 9 days and 10 places. Countless scattered light condensed together, forming a vast and boundless starry sky. Above the layers of stacked clouds, a strange island hangs in the starry sky. On Xiangu, a mountain range extends straight into the sky, reaching a height of 70.80000 zhang, as if on par with the sky. On the central mountains, towering buildings form an ancient fairy palace. The ethereal sound of sacrifice is heard, shrouded in fairy mist, and the strings are serene. I hope you will return early. However, I haven't seen you, and the cycle of reincarnation has collapsed. A snow-white skeleton is playing a guqin, sitting cross-legged on the ridge of a huge palace. In addition, there is a crimson phoenix, a juvenile immortal bird, standing on the ridge of another magnificent palace, with eyes as red as blood and a breath as deep as the abyss. This was originally an immortal bird, peaceful and holy, but now it exudes an ominous aura. Even its 5-colored divine feathers have been dyed blood red, which does not match the proper immortal bird aura. Ding ding dong dong. The sound of the qin is melodious and very pleasing to the ear. On the ridge of the roof, the snow-white skeleton played beautiful movements, which were very pleasing to the ear. Its hand bones were slender, snow-white and crystal clear, and it looked like a woman. The hazy chaotic atmosphere tilted out, and in an instant, the light and shadow were chaotic. Floating gold reflected on the wall, and the snow-white skeleton's flesh and blood were regenerated, transforming into an unparalleled beauty. She was leisurely playing the piano, playing the most beautiful sound. She has a worried expression, with a national beauty in heavenly fragrance, a closed moon that disguises the flowers. Autumn water is like divine jade and bones, and white clothes are better than snow, without dust or dirt. Behind her, there is a colorful immortal golden sword lying horizontally, with a murderous aura soaring to the sky. There is also a strange array diagram that is half hidden, half visible in the starry sky, connected to the entire starry sky as a whole. The ancient sword exudes a sense of divine resentment and ghost tears, with its body surrounded by various extraordinary symbols and brilliant radiance, forming 3 vast cycles of reincarnation. One is black, the other is gray, and the innermost one is dark red, seemingly containing secrets of the past and future, containing the true essence of time. The owner of the penalty area looked sad, gazing at the unchanging sky for thousands of years, with patches of light and feathers scattered behind him. After the hustle and bustle subsided, a snow-white skeleton stood still, and the remains of the true phoenix mourned, its mournful voice echoing through the heavens. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Swallowing the Heavenly Demon Cover. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Swallowing the Heavenly Demon Cover. In the cold and desolate expanse of time and space, a brilliant purple light crosses countless realms. Amidst the gray airflow and halo, there is a purple ghostly jade pendant that is enveloped by a faint and illusory true spirit. Soft purple light continuously poured into the sleeping spiritual body, making this true spirit even more extraordinary. The gray airflow in the chaotic space also rushed towards the ghost-faced jade pendant, like an image of the tide, vast and majestic. After a moment of silence, a brilliant halo flowed out of countless brilliant and mysterious runes. Amidst the sparkling and dazzling light marks, strands of chaotic essence flood into the true spirit. In the mist, strands of chaotic energy connect to create divine patterns that shine like stars under heaven. The vast world is shrouded, and the Emperor star is buried. Where is this? As soon as Su Yugong opened his eyes, he found himself lying on a cold ground, surrounded by pitch black. He shook his head, trying to understand his current situation. When he woke up, it was this kind of light and shadow that really puzzled him. He was completely groggy in his heart, with excruciating pain all over his body, but the pain quickly dissipated. Strange and complex patterns were gradually reviving around him, then suddenly falling silent again, and the surroundings returned to stillness and darkness. Especially his clothes were no longer shirts and pajamas, but a tattered, blood-stained, and dusty gray-white robe. Am I traveling? Su Yu was a bit confused. When can coders also enjoy the great fortune of traveling? Suddenly, a faint light emanated from his body, accompanied by a wave of warmth. Su Yu reluctantly extended his right hand and took out the items under him. Lying quietly in his palm was a missing purple jade pendant, engraved with the pattern of a ghost face. This purple jade was bought by Su Yu at a cost of 400 yuan from a certain treasure. Unlike when it was purchased, this jade pendant was emitting a faint light and warmth. It was warm, and Su Yu stood tall, using the pendant as a probe to look around. After looking around for a week, under the faint white light, the first ones to enter his perspective were several corpses, also dressed in robes and typical Eastern cultivation civilization costumes. One of them held a long green spear in his hand, a jade pagoda collapsed at his feet, and a white bone corpse lay not far away, also dressed in a gray-white robe, with a silver long sword beside him. All of this made Su Yu somewhat emotional. It seemed that the person he possessed was not doing well. At the beginning, the whole family stabbed him, and his loved ones offered sacrifices to heaven. The whole family was here neatly. The injury on this body was rapidly healing, and Su Yu's feeling became increasingly relaxed. He took a deep breath and felt the vast blood contained in this body. His predecessor must have been a strong cultivator, but now everything has been completed for him. Not dying is enough. Living is everything. It seems like this should be a world of cultivation. And it's also a wave of selected lucky stars. I'm familiar with things like licking the box at the beginning. These corpses are well preserved and there are no serious injuries, including himself. The blood stains on Su Yu's clothes were not his, and it was preliminarily determined that the original owner and his companions were injured by a strong impact on their internal organs, and then died. In addition to the 3 corpses around the original owner, what caught the eye was an ancient platform with a coffin on it. Due to his recent possession, Su Yu was unable to fully grasp this body. He suppressed the sense of detachment between his spiritual flesh and sat down trembling, wanting to use his mystical skills. Suddenly, he was glowing all over, and a purple aura emanated with a vast and grand aura, permeating the entire tomb chamber. The bronze coffin opened on its own, and a black light rushed out from the coffin. A simple and rustic pottery cover is floating and spinning in the void, with a ghost face imprint on it, resembling a smile rather than a cry, lifelike and incredibly strange. Under the lid, there is also an unreal Kan body, which does not resemble an incomplete shape, as if it is a complete imperial weapon. The ghost-faced human-face jade pendant in his hand was also attracted by the heavenly swallowing demon jar, emitting a dark and mysterious light, escaping from Su Yu and flying towards the heavenly swallowing demon jar. Ghost face mask, heavenly swallowing demon jar, gray and white robe, big tomb. This is Zhetian. After realizing these things, Su Yu was pleasantly surprised to find that it was covering the sky. This is a world of immortality and demons, where cultivators can cross clouds, pick stars and moon, and even compete in the mortal world to achieve immortality at the same time. He looked at the identical ghost face pattern of the heavenly swallowing demon jar and the purple jade pendant above, feeling a little emotional. 400 yuan for another time crossing, and this life is still a cover for the sky. At the beginning, devouring the sky and covering the rider's face is definitely a great blessing. It's not in vain that he has always been determined to be a good person in his past life, helping his neighbor's little sister with her homework every day for over a decade. Suyu stared at the ancient heavenly swallowing demon pot in mid-air, then sank his mind and began to understand the past of this body. The heavenly Duan mountain range of the eastern wilderness is a ruthless dojo. This is the place where Duanda dug up the heavenly demon cover and swallowed it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Cruel Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Cruel Clan. Soon Suyu sorted out the memories of this body, and the original owner's father was a remnant of a cruel bloodline. Their lineage was incredibly powerful a long time ago, with multiple saints existing and dominating the world through the heavenly swallowing demon jar. Unfortunately, it eventually declined and was annihilated by more than 10 holy sects working together. The true experts were exhausted and left with no successors. Finally, tens of thousands of years ago in the Battle of Demon Slaying, the sage ancestor was surrounded and killed by the supreme existence of the extreme Tao forces. Even the heavenly demon pot was shattered, and all the strong were annihilated. This lineage lost the body of the heavenly demon pot. After being killed at the last Sendai level, the heavenly swallowing demon guy also disappeared from the eyes of the world. The father of the original owner, a cultivator who transformed into a dragon and underwent 5 transformations. He found some talismans and notes from his ancestors, and was determined to restore the glory of this lineage. He wanted to retrieve his ancestral artifacts, but ultimately died in the Tianduan Mountains. The original master and the last 3 cultivators of this lineage have the cultivation level of the 4 extremes and 1 heavenly realm, while the other 2 are all the 3 heavenly realms of the Tao Palace. They also set foot on this road without hesitation, bringing their last remaining and incomplete holy soldier to the Tianduan Mountains. Because they have no choice but to retrieve the imperial artifacts, and their ruthless lineage is being beaten and killed in the outside world, making them truly enemies of the world. The ending is obvious. Although he successfully entered the ruthless dojo through his ancestors' ancestral tools and notes, he died under the impact of array patterns. Exploring an imperial-level dojo is difficult to succeed with a damaged holy weapon and a relatively recent token. After an unknown amount of time, finally, the ghost-faced jade pendant in mid-air flew towards Suyu like a stuffed doll, swaying and swaying. Suyu reached out his hand to catch it, but he didn't expect the jade pendant to escape directly into his body and enter his sea of consciousness. After the purple jade pendant entered his sea of consciousness, Suyu's spiritual body felt enveloped in warmth, and negative states such as fatigue were rapidly peeling away, making him feel like he was at the top of his youth luck and his whole body was warm. Quickly, he regained some of his experience, his face turned red again, and a hint of divine energy emerged. He then opened the ghost-faced man-faced jade pendant for the first time. Chaos Daoju, host. Suyu. Realm. 4 extremes and 1 heavenly realm. Fantasy. Planting golden lotus in the bitter sea. Constitution. Chaos body, 0.000001/100, calculation error, the host body is undergoing changes, true spirit is baptized by the essence of chaos, recalculated, 3/100. Sutra. The immortal heavenly skill will see scroll, the immortal heavenly skill Tao Palace scroll, and the immortal heavenly skill 4-pole scroll. Secret techniques. The Great Way treasure bottle, the divine technique, the holy technique of Wanhua, and the passing of flowing light. Taboo areas. 4 prohibitions, calculation errors, recalculation, 2 prohibitions. Soul discord, it is recommended that the host abandon the physical body here. Is this my golden finger? Finally here it is. Chaos Jade Ju. Is it related to the heavenly realm? Or is it a creation of extraterrestrial powers? Su Yuqiang suppressed his excitement and activated the remaining magic in his body, wanting to take off the heavenly swallowing demon cover directly. He attempted to explore this object with a hint of inspiration. His divine thoughts touched the dark light revealed by the heavenly swallowing demon cover, and he immediately felt a terrifying pressure, as if he had been abandoned in an overweight area and was about to kneel down. In a daze, he seemed to see a pottery jar sinking and floating in the Milky Way, swallowing and swallowing the Milky Way. The endless law of devouring silently docked around the heavenly swallowing magic jar, as if there was a cosmic starry sky, devouring all the sun, moon, and stars, like a bottomless black hole, devouring everything. The breath of Jade emanates from the magic jar, making people unable to resist kneeling down. However, the most terrifying thing is the person below the magic jar. That was a white-clad woman wearing a ghost face mask, surrounded by a strong chaotic atmosphere that enveloped her. Her eyes looked down on the entire universe, indifferent and sad. She was wrapped around countless chains of order transformed from chaos, like an immortal king. This palpitating fluctuation is truly the top imperial weapon in the world of concealing the heavens. The supreme swallowing heavenly demon jar. In the illusion space, Xiangu knelt down directly and then activated his divine power, revealing a breath of indestructible heavenly skill. Later generations, Xiangu, see the ancient ancestor. Although he is not, the original owner is a true bloodline of ruthless people. As a newcomer, Xiangu chose to follow his heart and recognized the Empress as the ancient ancestor, which was not at all embarrassing. The previous text was a bit toxic. The first signed work by the newcomer was not done well, I'm very sorry. Advance notice. This article has multiple female leads. Gentlemen, please refresh before reading. I have made some major changes to the previous text. If you encounter duplicate chapters, please refresh. My computer and phone display everything is normal here. I don't know what's going on, but there may be an error in the starting point data. Some readers have seen the version before the modification. This makes the author very helpless. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. True Blood Sacrifice Refining. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 True Blood Sacrifice Refining. Swallowing the heavenly demon jar is one of the strongest imperial soldiers in the world of covering the heavens, and even ranks first in terms of expressive power. It is made by a heavenly empress-level existence sacrificing and refining her own imperial body, and contains some of the Empress's primordial gods, which can awaken the Empress's primordial gods in the jar to the extreme, just like the first Empress personally visiting, with divine power surpassing the world, suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 earth. No matter what kind of immortal gold or chaotic stone essence it is, the mother chi root of all things cannot be compared to this imperial weapon. It is unique and unparalleled in the world. And its owner is known as the most stunning and talented emperor of the sky-covering era, the most talented woman of all time. The Empress held great pride in both ancient and modern times. She was not gifted to compete with the heavens, the earth, or herself. However, she relied on her own strength to slay all the kings and become independent of the 9 heavens. Even the supreme divine dynasty could not block her path. With a physique that was inferior to that of the mortal body, she eventually reached the pinnacle and became one of the most powerful figures of ancient and modern times. Xiangu did not conceal his admiration and respect for the Empress. He admired her strength, her situation, her achievements, and her talent. As a mortal body, without any cultivation talent, but soaring into the sky in extreme adversity, transforming into an supreme existence. Achieve the supreme body of the heavenly emperor and reign over the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Here, the ruler reigns over the world, covering the entire era of obscurity. Only the heavenly lord Chao Yushen, the Lingbao heavenly lord, the emperor lord, the immortal emperor, the invincible emperor, the ruthless emperor, the green emperor, and Yi Fan are present. Due to the existence of the Forbidden Zone, the other supreme beings of the ultimate Tao cannot be truly invincible in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. However, those who have achieved enlightenment after Yi Fan cannot be said to be invincible due to the existence of Yi Fan. She unleashed boundless slaughter due to her inner obsession, destroyed the feathered god dynasty, shattered the immortal tool, the origin cauldron of all things, and achieved the supreme heavenly emperor's body. She killed all 9 heaven and 10 earth, making the supreme beings in the forbidden area silent. The sentient beings called her the heavenly emperor, shocking both ancient and modern times, sweeping through the 6 harmonies and 8 wildernesses, the glory of the 9 heavens of independence, standing at the pinnacle of humanity, overlooking the eternal cycle in the Wuguang fantasy realm. This white-clothed goddess seems to not belong to this world, but is a true immortal realm. Her temperament is extraordinary, as if she will emerge and ascend to immortality at any time, transcending the world. In Su Yu's eyes, the goddess's beautiful hair fluttered gently, her body was slender and sacred under her pure white dress, her skin was translucent and white, like a brilliant fairy transformed from gold, unparalleled in beauty. Just as Su Yu recalled the past of this supreme existence, his primordial spirit sensed an indescribable sigh, like the wind passing through ripples, and the entire picture solidified. The existence, dressed in a snow-white long dress and shrouded in chaotic mist, let out a sigh. The slender body remained motionless, as if falling into the river of time and space, becoming increasingly blurred and shattered. Opening his eyes, Su Yu felt the pressure of the heavenly swallowing demon cover gradually weaken. The ghost face magic cover in mid-air began to gather the scattered black light, and the extreme Tao aura gradually disappeared. He was a bit dazed, as if he had not yet broken free from the illusion. Su Yu recited the summoning mnemonic from the original owner's memory gently on the ground. Quickly, the dim light above dissipated completely, and with a soft, ding, sound, an ordinary ceramic lid fell in front of him, naturally folding into his hand. Su Yu scrutinized this half-imperial artifact carefully, whether it was his illusion or something. He seemed to see tears rolling down from the ghost face imprint on the pottery cover, lifelike, which made him constantly sad. This is the strongest backhand in the world of covering the sky, but I didn't expect it to finally turn around this time. He calmed his emotions, took out the remaining source from the storage bag, and then refined it with fresh blood according to ancient methods. Then his body began to operate the immortal heavenly skill, and in an instant, waves of essence rushed from outside the dojo. Coupled with Su Yu's own scattered chaotic airflow, his body and soul slowly merged into one, becoming increasingly familiar with the original master's divine powers and secret techniques. Condensing. The magic within his body condensed directly into a chaotic energy, which was directly injected into the heavenly swallowing demon cap by him and imprinted directly on the surface of the imperial artifact, transforming into a strange rune. In an instant, after being branded by the chaotic atmosphere, the originally ordinary pottery lid became strange, and the bottom of the lid was as bright as a mirror. What caught the eye was a young man wearing a long robe, with a slightly delicate and immature appearance. The original owner's bone age was only 13 years. After preliminary refinement, Su Yu incorporated the heavenly demon cap into his own bitter sea. His bitter sea was originally a black water, very calm. And now his sea of suffering is roaring, slowly expanding, with surging waves and heavy winds and rains. The originally pitch-black seawater began to become transparent, and there were 10 chaotic-colored airflow around the bitter sea, forming a circular shape, as if creating a new world. In the end, his bitter sea turned into a chaotic ocean, with a sky-swallowing magic cover suppressing everything above it, and a divine bridge erected on it. Su Yu swallowed the spiritual energy transformed from the source stone, and his body slowly recovered. His originally pale and thin body also began to recover, and his complexion turned red. After practicing for 3 hours, Su Yu completely took control of this physical body. He looked straight ahead at the darkness and opened the jade pendant again. Chaos Dao Ju, host. Su Yu. Realm. 4 extremes and 1 heavenly realm. Fantasy. Planting golden lotus in the bitter sea. Physical constitution. Chaotic body, 17/100. The physical changes are over. Sutra. The immortal heavenly skill will see scroll, the immortal heavenly skill Dao Palace scroll, and the immortal heavenly skill four-pole scroll. Secret techniques. The Great Way treasure bottle, the divine technique, the holy technique of Wanhua, and the passing of flowing light. Taboos. For prohibitions, 1/6 of the chaotic body's combat power has directly turned into the 6 prohibitions. The ruthless lineage of the 4 prohibitions is passed down to the 4 extremes and heavenly heavens. Su Yu is very satisfied with his body. This opening definitely counts as SSR. Author 1800 Bureau also, Platinum 1 Endless Brother, Wu let me explain here, this bow is very important. The jar was given by the Empress to the elderly in the village. As the protagonist is a legitimate and ruthless lineage, the Empress has no reason to take the jar back. Because this is a gift she gave to the elderly person who treated her well in the past. Even if the Empress ultimately wants the unity of the essence, at least she can exchange it for a fairy sword. 0.0, I'm so black. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Practice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Practice. Becoming a member of the ruthless lineage, he had 2 complete imperial scriptures in his hands. Swallowing Demon Technique and Immortal Heavenly Technique. Moreover, the forbidden divine techniques of the ruthless emperor were mostly in his hands. In addition to the 3 imperial techniques of the Great Tao and the Treasure Bottle, the original body also includes the Flying Immortal Technique, 3000 Worlds, and the Heart Technique Mouth Technique of One Mind Blossoming, ruling the world, and solely respecting the holy art. Crossing the heavenly realm, if you are an ordinary person on earth, you must keep up with Yi Fan's coffin convoy. The secret realm method passed down by the Emperor of Wilderness has high requirements for talent, and 99% of the public cannot open up the sea of suffering, while the time path of the forbidden area in the wilderness can achieve this. A possessed cultivator doesn't need to be like this. The sea of suffering has already been opened up. As long as he is familiar with and masters this body, based on the situation in the early stage of covering the sky, he has great potential on the Big Dipper. The combination of quadruple combat power and the heavenly swallowing magic cap is sufficient in the early stages, although it is nothing in the middle and later stages. However, according to memory, more than a decade ago, the 7th largest bandit in the northern regions had found the body of the heavenly demon cannon in the Yunduan Mountains. It seems that Yi Fan and his team have not yet arrived at the Beidou. Good luck at the beginning. 2 imperial scriptures, 8 taboo secrets, not to mention the protection of the swallowing heaven demon covered. 1 day ago, Su Yu was still a coder who earned a monthly income of 1,000. While rereading, Covering the Sky, he had a sudden impulse and spent a huge amount of money to buy a piece of purple jade on a certain treasure. After receiving the package, Su Yu was very satisfied with the handicraft and couldn't sleep the same day. When he regained consciousness, he crossed over to Cover the Sky. Swallowing the heavenly demon cover, the ruthless and arrogant heavenly vein, swallowing the heavenly demon skill, immortal heavenly skill, and the forbidden divine technique of the Empress. This opening doesn't require much words, just describe it in 2 words. Take off. Su Yu was secretly pondering the plot of Covering the Sky, while exploring the usage of this mysterious jade pendant. Chaos Dao Ju, this name, and this level of crossing the big world, is it a product of heaven? Or is it a divine artifact trained by the power of the other world? Or is it something else? Soon, Su Yu found the pitiful remaining information in the jade pendant, which was a divine object refined by a supreme existence trapped in the infinite immortal robbery. Unexpectedly, when crossing time and space, he was hit by an unknown golden light, which shattered the spiritual consciousness of the artifact spirit. The jade pendant also fell into the endless cracks of time and space, and was ultimately obtained by Su Yu. I really want to find that Taobao store owner, maybe he knows something. The first time Su Yu received information about the purple jade pendant, his mind was a bit confused. Chaos Jade Ju, covering the sky and perfect, there are not many great cultivators involved in chaos. Wang Bo and Yi Xian are chaotic bodies, but time is not in sync. Infinite immortal calamity is that Taobao shop owner a supernatural superpower who plays in the world. What a strange tightness. However, the information in Jade Ju has stopped here. There is no system, no tasks, and no benefits after Suyu finished his cultivation. Several of his secret techniques also turned to a small success, while the rest remained in a state of stillness. While exploring the origin of the Jade Pendant, he is also attempting to unleash the illusion possessed by this body. Quickly, the divine power ignited the bitter sea, and Suyu sat there quietly like a stone statue, nourished by the source stone, operating his own will see, Dao Palace, and 4 poles. Suddenly, the tomb chamber was filled with radiance, and waves of shock erupted. Endless divine radiance surged from Suyu's bitter sea, and the chaotic ocean became golden, accompanied by lightning and thunder. He felt the endless treasure inside his body being opened, releasing his true nature. The Wheel Sea secret realm, which was cultivated through the immortal heavenly skill, was gradually melted by Suyu's chaotic energy, remelted, and forged into a foundation. The divine bridge is recast, and the other shore is hazy. The wheel of life inside the body is complete and thorough, mixed with a hint of golden light. The middle Tao rhyme of the bitter sea flows, containing a trace of immortal Tao rhyme. With the flow of time, his Sendai shines brightly, and chaotic airflow evolves into a small world. The vast golden sea of bitterness floats and sinks in the chaotic mist, with a golden lotus flower located in the center of the sea of bitterness. Above his head, countless heavenly and earthly essences drooped, setting off his entire being as sacred as ever. Planting golden lotus in the bitter sea is one of the ancient wonders. As soon as it was exhibited, it had the potential to shatter the heavens and earth. Buzz, the void trembled and was almost torn apart. In the night sky outside the tomb chamber, the power of the stars, such as water and moonlight, was drawn to melt his body. The surrounding source stones were rapidly transformed into spiritual energy and refined by Suyu. The source energy penetrated through his body, making his whole body crystal clear. Even the hair on his body was shining, and his soul and body were baptized together. Refining his physical body is a visible transformation, and his body begins to become flawless, transparent like pure crystals. His blood is boiling, and the powerful fluctuations of life are even more terrifying. In this process, the heavenly swallowing magic cap in the bitter sea also emitted bursts of black light, blending with the chaotic energy on the surface of the bitter sea, appearing even more extraordinary. And Suyu's body became even more brilliant after being condensed, just like the arrival of an immortal master. In his Taoist palace, the 5 great gods gathered together and trembled, blooming with auspicious radiance, golden radiance, water radiance, wood radiance, earth radiance, and fire radiance. Sparkling golden characters burst out one by one, creating a mysterious and profound charm. This is the profound meaning of the scriptures of the immortal heavenly skill. The 5 great gods were all reciting the imperial scriptures in the Taoist palace, and a strange wave appeared in this space, faintly even affecting the heavenly swallowing demon cover. Whether it's me from the past or me who is with the Tao, I will connect with the world of the Tao and transform myself. The sound of the Dao Luan resounds throughout the dojo, as if someone is reciting the supreme scripture, explaining the profound principles of the Tao. During this process, the essence of the source stone filled the dojo, illuminating the entire world. After a long time, all the source stones were depleted, leaving only a few stone skins on the ground and some black dirt piled up on top. Original work. The bitter sea cultivates the golden lotus and the rising moon, both of which are ancient powerful forms of the wheel sea. Few people in today's world can cultivate them. Planting golden lotus in the bitter sea is not an exclusive vision of the holy body. Yen Ryu also created this kind of illusion. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Silver Moon Jade Pagoda. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Silver Moon Jade Pagoda. Suyu slowly opened his eyes and his body spread out, making joint sounds, almost like a rebirth. The immortal heavenly skill is truly an imperial scripture, and it focuses on the evolution of the human body. Such divine power is truly intoxicating. As an ordinary person in the previous life, Suyu had a special mindset towards cultivation. He embarked on the path of cultivating immortality. The original owner has the same name as him, and he is a heavenly pride who possesses the 4 prohibitions. He has practiced the imperial scriptures and secret arts, but his physique is far from that of a true heavenly pride, at the level of an ancient prince. According to the information provided by Yu Ju, even 1/1,000,000th of the true chaotic body has not been achieved. It is no wonder that the top-tier heavenly pride, shaking light saint at the peak of the Quasi emperor did not ultimately cultivate a complete chaotic body. The quickest way to cultivate immortal heaven skill is to find a cauldron furnace, order it to practice swallowing the heavenly demon skill, and finally devour the cauldron furnace. The original owner clearly did not receive such treatment. He had a lot of ideas about this purple jade pendant, but the spirit of the artifact had disappeared, and there was no intelligent program for it. Apart from the information inside, there was nothing else he could do. That's enough. It's already rare to start over and get a swallowing the heavenly demon cap. Being a person should learn to be content. Suyu directly emitted a divine light, illuminating the darkness and illuminating the tomb chamber. The first thing he saw was 2 corpses and a jade pagoda beside him. Through memory, he knew that these were the 2 junior brothers of his original body, and the white corpse not far away was his father. The original owner seemed even more miserable than him, with a neat family. He felt an inexplicable sadness, even his body trembling slightly, which was a natural manifestation of his body. He calmed his emotions slightly and stabilized his trembling body. Suyu sighed with disappointment and set out on the path of a cultivator, death being the norm. The cultivator possessed by him can be considered a little arrogant, but his fate is extremely tragic. He first used his magic to explore their ocean of suffering, especially the spatial magic tools. At first, he was a bit inexperienced, but then it became smoother. At this point, he was able to master this body. Then Suyu took out his jade clean bottle, collected the 3 corpses, and pulled out his magic to collect the 3 weapons on the ground. Start licking the box. He knows all 3 of these weapons, a long spear of the Daogong level, and the white jade pagoda belongs to himself, which is a damaged holy weapon. And the chaotic long sword in his hand is the original holy weapon of a great sage in their lineage, refined from the red moon god Jade and chaos stone sacrifice, and is an impeccable great holy weapon. Counting the spatial artifacts, it was consistent with his memory that there were only 4,000 kilograms of sources and a few Taoist palace artifacts. He directly infused his divine thoughts into the jade pagoda and refined it again. The remaining deities in this incomplete holy weapon are enough to be used for a long time. The white jade pagoda is only 5 inches high and is cast from the silver moon god Jade among the 9 heavenly gods Jade, and it is also a whole piece of silver moon god Jade. The whole body is brilliant, with moon-white eaves and tower tops, but unfortunately, 3 of the 5 eaves are broken. The holy soldier hangs above his head, and the silver waterfall falls. It is ancient and majestic, with strands of sacred laws winding around it, making it incredibly sacred. After refining the silver moon jade pagoda with blood sacrifice again, Suyu collected it into his own bitter sea and then picked up the chaos long sword. This chaos long sword is a perfect weapon of the great sage level, mixed with all elements. The gods inside the chaos long sword are also very friendly to him. Due to the bloodline traction, these 2 holy weapons are not exclusive to him, and the refining process is very smooth. The small space inside the Chaos Holy Sword is filled with hundreds of thousands of kilograms of source stones and a dragon-level weapon. There are 2 sacred artifacts, and even 1 great holy weapon, which is enough to cross a region. Unfortunately, all of them ended up here. Suyu whispered, feeling a little sigh. However, apart from the holy soldiers, this lineage does not have many sources, which is pitiful compared to those holy religions. In the original work, Yi Fan cut stones in the holy city, often weighing millions of pounds of pure sources. Compared to the shaking light pulse, it is even more difficult to compare with it. As the same bloodline of ruthless people, the original master's bloodline disappeared here, while the bloodline of ruthless people dormant in the shaking light holy land was like the sun in the sky, incredibly prosperous. Unlike the return to simplicity of the swallowing heavenly demon cap, both of these holy weapons emit a strong aura of the holy way. Especially the silver moon jade pagoda, due to its damage, if it is not refined and stored in the sea of suffering, the holy soldier will involuntarily emit terrifying auras, which are extremely intimidating. Each strand weighs more than 10,000 pounds, like a demon mountain oppressing it. In the hazy and chaotic tomb chamber, Xiangu sat cross-legged on the bronze ground. The spring in his sea of suffering sprays the essence of life, the source of divine power boils, the divine power is like a tide, and the sky is filled with glow. In the life spring at the bottom of the bitter sea, there is a heavenly swallowing demon cover that suppresses the six harmonies. Countless and complex Tao patterns interweave on the tile cover, making it impossible to comprehend. However, there is a feeling of natural Tao and chaotic unity between heaven and earth, which is deeply touching at first glance. On the surface of the bitter sea, there are two holy soldiers swallowing chaotic currents, and the heavenly swallowing magic cap is immersed in the spring at the bottom of the sea. The chaotic aura drooped down, like the transformation of 3,000 great paths, making him appear even more sacred and transcendent. His blood-stained white clothes spread out, his hair fluttered, and his body shimmered with radiance. He had a divine aura. The remaining stone-skin dirt around the body was directly shattered into dust. Xiangu glanced at the blue stone platform in the center and then directly put the bronze small coffin on the platform into the sea of suffering. This magical tool had imperial chi flowing on it, making it a special imperial ritual tool. The heavenly swallowing demon cover in the spring of destiny was worshipped, and Xiangu strode out with the heavenly swallowing demon cover. The strange and complex imperial array patterns inside the tomb chamber did not activate, and with a light sound, the tomb chamber was once again obscured by darkness. Buzz. After a moment of spatial reversal, he left the tomb chamber directly and waited in the dark world after a violent spatiotemporal fluctuation. After an unknown amount of time, he appeared out of thin air in a vast dojo. He glanced back at the small void before, where the imperial level array pattern was priceless, but unfortunately he could not penetrate it. Looking around, it was a chaotic small world opened up by someone. The whole world was peaceful, stained with traces of time. The dojo was filled with soft radiance, and the spiritual energy was very strong. There is a teleportation line between the two, not in the same domain. Xiangu's heart moved. Is this the Tianduan Mountains? I remember the heavenly swallowing demon guy was dug out by Duanda from the Yunduan Mountains. It was just a teleportation formation. He didn't think much and stood on the dojo, his eyes scrutinizing the surroundings. His pupils exuded a hint of divine brilliance, like two immortal lamps illuminating the four directions. Thank you to bookfriends 201904262214530012 and Tian E for their encouragement. Thank you for your recommended tickets. Jean Guliang 10147 No minor misery pine and cypress hibernate forever. I don't know how to read the recommended ticket owner on the computer. I apologize for any omissions. Thank you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Remnants of the Quasi Emperor, Seeking Recommended Votes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Remnants of the Quasi Emperor, Seeking Recommended Votes. In this chaotic small world, thousands of stars evolve into a small star field above the sky, with brilliant starlight, making the space of the small world incredibly vast. This is the manifestation of the secret technique of time and space, as if standing on the other end of the universe. These stars are embellishments refined from the universe by imperial beings with great magical power, serving as the supreme realm of existence. He stood at the center of the dojo, and at the edge of his gaze, there were dilapidated small palaces suspended in the air, divided into two parts. The masses of those palaces revealed a vast pressure that made people tremble. It is silent and full of the aura of death, because the snow-white bones connect into a sea of bones that surrounds the palace complex from afar. There are even many residual bones suspended by the palace, incredibly brilliant, at least the residual bones above the holy realm, and there is endless sword-killing energy filling it, a killing intent that directly covers the entire world. When he looked up at the sky, this small world also had the sun, and the light that illuminated the entire small world was not the vast expanse of light infiltrating through chaotic space. He could clearly see with the help of the heavenly swallowing magic cap that it was a three-legged golden crow corpse fixed at the top of the small world with great magic. The blazing sun's true fire is burning on the surface of the golden crow, which is a huge body forged like Dao Jie's gold, incredibly divine and majestic. This is obviously also a special holy artifact, otherwise it would not have been possible to spend hundreds of thousands of years. Moreover, the aura emanating from the corpse of the three-legged golden crow made him somewhat familiar. This aura was very similar to the aura emanating from his great holy artifact in the Sea of Suffering. The chaos long soared during the ritual refining, but it was even hotter and more vast. This is the great sage-level golden crow. The Empress's handwriting is truly amazing. The Golden Crow clan is really miserable in the sky. Suyu sighed a bit. In Perfect World, the Jinwu clan had more than one immortal king-level existence, and the Jin clan's martial arts, Do Tian Fen Xian Gong, was famous in the immortal realm. When the Jinwu crows, the Emperor falls into time, was also an unparalleled divine power at the immortal king level, and countless supreme immortals died under the crow. There is even a heavenly emperor who is about to overthrow Wang Qingdi and establish a heavenly court. The impression given by the Jinwu tribe in Jitian is that they were defeated by Yi Fan, and the entire Jinwu tribe, from Sendai to Jinwu emperor, was crushed to death by Yi Tian emperor. There are no divine objects such as the medicine king in this small world, and apart from the Xinchuan waterfall, there are no living creatures. It is a vast expanse of wilderness, and the entire mountain range is very sacred, presenting a faint red color with a sacred aura. There is a waterfall rushing between mountains and rivers, and what flows in the waterfall is not spring water, but a long river mixed with chaotic air, falling from the cliff and creating a vast expanse. This mountain range is very magnificent, towering and extraordinary, majestic, towering up to 1,000 feet and soaring into the clouds. The mountains stand side by side, forming a fairy valley that surrounds this dojo. The spiritual energy is dense, with billions of rays of rosy light steaming in it, making this place particularly sacred. The concentration of spiritual energy here far exceeds that of the outside world, making it a holy land for cultivation. It's a pity that there is no spiritual medicine for such a rich spiritual energy. Suyu was somewhat puzzled. In theory, there should be many spiritual medicines in such an environment, but it's abnormal here that there is not a single herb king. The only possibility is that the sword energy above covers this land, and those low-aged spiritual medicines cannot grow, while the eternal spiritual medicines should also disappear after the Empress's sword. Suyu scattered his divine thoughts into the sky, and he could feel the murderous sword aura in the sky being ignored by him. More precisely, it was due to the existence of the heavenly swallowing demon guy that his divine consciousness was not attacked by the sword aura. Suddenly, Suyu's expression froze. He noticed a broken body in a dilapidated palace above the dome. The body was divided into two sections, bright red and dazzling, with a killing aura that was incredibly broken. The endless killing intent made the soul tingle, and he quickly withdrew his divine consciousness. This is imperial chi, but it is not as vast and profound as swallowing the heavenly demon guy. Is it a quasi-emperor corpse? Suyu's expression began to heat up. There was a quasi-emperor corpse, and it was unknown if there were quasi-emperor soldiers in the other palaces. He directly sacrificed the heavenly demon cap, and 3,000 black lights fell down. His figure also became somewhat blurred, using imperial weapons to protect the divine soul, and then exploring the remaining dilapidated palaces again. The seals of these palaces have all been broken, and they have been divided into two parts, along with the shattered Quasi-Emperor corpse. He seemed to be able to see a scene that happened here hundreds of thousands of years ago, where a group of cultivators led by the Quasi-Emperor were beheaded by another supreme being with a sword. That sharp sword energy has passed through countless years and remains indestructible. Unfortunately, there are no divine weapons in the other palaces, the only one that exists is the Quasi-Emperor's corpse. As for his weapons, they may have decayed and no trace can be found. This is the Tianduan Mountains, a holy land of the Holy Spirit family in the past. In ancient times, the Holy Spirit of the Imperial Way lay dormant here, making it a forbidden area. However, the Holy Spirit of the Imperial Way was killed by the ruthless Emperor, and the blood of the Emperor-level Holy Spirit stained the mountains and rivers for tens of millions of miles. Countless heavenly palaces and jade palaces hidden with immortal treasures were shattered by a blow from the Empress. The Imperial-level Holy Spirit corpse, which should have existed more, should have been taken away by the Empress herself, while the quasi-imperial soldiers that may have survived do not exist. After some searching, Xiangu still gave up. He glanced at the surrounding shattered bones and dust, and according to his speculation, the weapon of the Quasi-Emperor should also have been shattered by the sword of the Empress. Then, the shattered Quasi-Emperor soldiers were eroded by time and turned into dust. He picked up a piece of residual bone and sighed that the essence of it had been lost and could not be used. Finally, Xiangu collected a portion of the remaining bones and placed them in the holy weapon space. Although most of the holy bone essence has been lost, the material alone is also a rare tool refining material. He looked at a space in the dojo from afar, and while ignoring the sword energy, it was an excellent place for cultivation. Unfortunately, time waits for no one. On the day when the 9 dragons pull their coffins and set off, the Golden Age opens. The apparent rulers of the current Beidou are the leaders and saints of the Holy Land cult, a group of powerful beings from Sendai Double Heaven. However, with the arrival of the Golden Age, many ancient princes are about to emerge, and ancient tribes will emerge in piles. Soon, the world will be at the level of a great saint, and it is meaningless to rely on sitting and practicing hard to improve one's realm. Taking out the body from the storage bag, he wielded his sword and cut off the rocks to make a stone coffin. He properly buried the family members of his predecessor and then solemnly worshipped them. To bid farewell to your funeral and settle the cause and effect. Today I am burying someone else, and I wonder if someone will be burying me the next day. Immortal death is like a scattered thought, and this life will never return. There is no reincarnation in this world, and death is the end of everything. Xiangu stared at these 3 mounds without setting up a monument for them, and his previously fluctuating emotions eventually turned into calmness. In this way, the fate has come to an end, and there are no other people in this lineage, which is much simpler. Xiangu left this dojo, and with his current cultivation, he could not obtain the Quasi-Emperor corpse. It was much more dangerous than Quasi-Emperor soldiers. Although he could capture it through the heavenly swallowing demon cap, he needed to be at least at the level of a saint if he wanted to be urged to do so. The corpse was covered in bones and blood, and the chi of the Quasi-Emperor was overwhelming. If his physical body could not reach him, it would turn into blood mud, and his divine mind would not be able to approach him. Xiangu directly used the token to open the world channel and walked in. The Tianduan Mountain Dojo will soon be found by Duanda, the reincarnation of the Dujia Heavenly Lord. However, he has no ability to cover up and seal that dojo. This place is located in the Eastern Wilderness Middle Domain, and the famous Immortal Mountain Forbidden Area is also located in the Middle Domain. You can express any opinions, and if the plot is unreasonable, you can directly say it. However, please criticize and do not curse, as the author is psychologically fragile. The author has nothing in reality and has even been a licking dog, humble like dust. I will send the contract tomorrow and save some drafts for the next 2 days over the weekend. I was a bit excited because I thought I could work full time, but unfortunately I didn't. Let's encourage each other. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Transformation of Jade Jew. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8. The Transformation of Jade Jew. Stars fill the sky, and the vast wilderness stretches for thousands of miles. Suyu ascended the clouds all the way, ending at the original master's training place. The plain white clouds swept through the sky, creating a long white line that swept by lightning. Suyu felt very happy along the way, with endless green fields under his feet, presenting a faint mist under the reflection of the stars. After flying for 2 hours, I finally arrived at a place called Dongtian, which is actually a towering immortal mountain. Its spiritual energy is far inferior to that of the Empress dojo, but also higher than the outside world. There is a hazy cloud and mist entwined in the mountains, with ancient trees verdant and pavilions and buildings located on the mountain springs and rocks. Flowing springs and waterfalls, dancing cranes, vivid and natural, are truly a beautiful place. There are several temples on the mountainside, and one of them, the Jade Palace, is his residence. At this moment, the stars in the sky are spinning in a completely different environment from Earth. The path to cultivation is to ascend to the sky and cover the sky with a flick of a finger. He is isolated and helpless in the Beidou, and even if he has half an imperial weapon, he must act cautiously. After changing his clothes, Suyu raised a bonfire and directly shot and killed a golden pheasant. After a barbecue, he spread some honey and medicinal juice on the surface, and the aroma instantly overflowed, satisfying his appetite. The opportunities in the original work were too far away from him, and with his current cultivation level, the only Yuan-Tian book he could obtain was located in the northern region of the eastern wilderness, which is not many tens of thousands of miles away. He took out the source stone and began practicing. During the process of cultivation, Suyu did not notice a purple light lingering around him, and together with countless chaotic energies, it set him off like a fairy in the dust. Under this touch of purple light, Suyu automatically fell into the deepest realm of enlightenment. The scripture and secret techniques of immortal heavenly skill were operating on their own, scattering immortal radiance and highlighting his extraordinary qualities, as if he had crossed time and space from the past, present, and future. One sand, one world, one leaf, one Pagoda, under the space-time path, the world is endless, and the dust inside the human body is endless and hidden. At this moment, he is in harmony with heaven and earth, with a sense of unity between heaven and earth, and the natural way of Tao. Countless flying immortals wield their power across the sky, absorbing the essence of the sun and the moon, as well as the essence of the grass and trees. There are 365 silver whirlpools appearing around them, which are very brilliant. They gather 10 directions of essence, absorb the essence of the sun and the moon, and the essence of the grass and trees. The earth's dragon energy, star and moon essence, all condensed like water, flowed into 365 silver whirlpools, casting a chaotic figure. The mountains trembled slightly, covering the fields, and the essence contained in the endless veins erupted. The entire essence filled the palace, and the spiritual energy inside was so rich that it was almost liquefied. This level of cultivation cannot be normalized, and the consumption of source stones is enormous. A road map of planting golden lotus in the bitter sea also appeared above him. The sea and sky were one color, the sky was like sapphire, and the blue waves were like a mirror. Golden lotus plants sprouted from the sea, with dewdrops on their leaves, vibrant and dazzling. The gentle breeze blows, the blue sea ripples, and the golden lotus blooms with a strong vitality, making people suspect that they have entered the initial era of creation, with a hazy atmosphere. 3,000 small worlds appeared behind him, with countless constant sands surrounding his body, giving birth to Taoist rhymes and accumulating patterns, like exiled immortals facing the dust. He felt that he could merge with heaven and earth, and the entire world was actively integrating with it, constantly deepening his understanding of the secret technique of immortal heavenly skill. The divine soul is becoming increasingly flawless and transparent, sacred and incomparable. Bang! There is a sound of mountains and rocks collapsing in the cave, the mountains and forests shaking together, and the sky chirping softly. The Dharma gate created by the ancient heavenly emperor has infinite mysteries, and the great road hangs down, presenting rules one by one. 3,000 world achievements. A deity appears in the void, reciting words and countless scriptures. The scriptures seem to have a seductive effect on the mind, which can lead people to darkness, and sinking inside this is the Du Xiangu. After finishing his cultivation, Suyu let out a long roar and exhaled the turbid qi in his chest. The strange purple light also disappeared into the void without a trace. This time, his cultivation did not break through the 4 extremes and 2 heavens, but he has made significant progress in the secret techniques of the several sects, which has also been beneficial to his soul. After practicing in the cave for 3 consecutive days, the source stone in the storage bag was quickly consumed, and his breath became increasingly sacred. This is a characteristic of the immortal heavenly skill. Those who practice this skill will transform into chaotic bodies, with bodies that conform to the rules of the world, ethereal immortal energy, and increasingly extraordinary temperament. After the start of this game, everything went well, and imperial artifacts and great holy artifacts came one after another. Unfortunately, we did not encounter the 9 dragons coffin pulling, which is truly regrettable. Ding! When he thought of 9 dragons pulling coffin, the ghost-faced jade pendant, which had already integrated into his sea consciousness, suddenly shone brightly. The transparent purple light illuminated the entire palace, and then the light condensed into a solid entity. The brilliant purple light transformed into a strange illusion. It was an ancient modeled mural, shrouded in chaotic light, hazy and hazy. In the space where solitude and darkness coexist, 9 massive dragon corpses are laid out, and the bronze giant coffins are quaint and grand, seemingly coexisting with the vastness of the universe for eternity. There is also a great sun and several planets in the scene. Especially a water-blue planet. Is this Earth? Suyu suddenly had countless thoughts, and many questions appeared in his mind. 9 dragons pulling coffin. Because I thought of 9 dragons pulling coffins, this jade pendant actually displays the scene of 9 dragons pulling coffins. What's going on? Suyu's gaze was slightly fixed as he gazed at the mural of the dragon coffin. He didn't care about the 9 truly divine dragons, what he cared about was the coffin. If I could sit on the 9 dragons and pull the coffin. Immediately, Suyu shook his head. He was already in the Beidou, and it was not easy to return to Earth, but it was probably extremely difficult. Just when he was somewhat disappointed, the murals in the void reflected in his sea of consciousness. In an instant, he stood up in a daze and saw the magnificent scene in the quiet starry sky. The 9 dragon corpses lay horizontally in space, the bronze giant coffin vast and mysterious, surrounded by a lonely and desolate universe. Then the illusion shattered, and Suyu's eyes trembled slightly as he received information from the light and shadow. This jade pendant is enough to take me back to Earth. In this moment, his thoughts were stirred up, and the 9 dragons coffin was definitely a fairyland. The Bodhi tree and the dying Bodhi tree in the Yinghua Dalai temple, even if you can't take the Bodhi tree, it's still good to have one, and there are also Buddha statues and forbidden objects left by Shakyamuni. And now I have the heavenly swallowing demon cover to protect myself, and the divine mindfulness of the great holy body poses no threat to me. Although I cannot urge the heavenly swallowing demon cover to deal with him, there is no problem with protecting me. And the unnamed immortal scripture in the 3rd generation copper coffin. In the faint purple light, Suyu's expression was inexplicable, and countless thoughts flooded his heart. He is very interested in the divine spring liquid in the ancient forbidden area, as well as the sacred fruit on the residual roots of the 9 wonderful immortal trees. The ghost-faced jade Jew made no sound, only the purple scene of 9 dragons pulling coffins floating slightly in the void. Suyu felt a bit helpless. This was the helplessness of the golden finger, which had no tool spirit. He could only passively accept it and could not maximize its functionality. Many book enthusiasts look bewildered when they see this, so let me explain it in advance. The initial landing point of Yujue was on Earth, but it was stopped by a ruthless person and landed in the ruthless person's tomb in Beidou. Suyu's past life is related to ruthless people. So Yujue is a normal process, it was supposed to land on Earth with Suyu's soul. Hope you know. Thank you. The previous text was slightly poisonous. I hope everyone can tolerate it a bit. Xiaoye would be very grateful. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Cloud and Mist Wonders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Cloud and Mist Wonders. If conducting a planetary crossing, where will he land on Earth? Suyu is not very worried about the safety issue of star domain relocation. No matter how far away it is, there is no initial world far away from the heavenly covering world. Moreover, in the Ruthless Person Dojo, he saw with his own eyes that this jade pendant absorbed many devouring laws that fell from the heavenly swallowing magic cover. Even in a dormant state, it can take him through chaotic space to reach the realm of obscurity, and now it's just an interstellar journey. The landing point is the problem, but with the heavenly swallowing magic cap and chaos sword on his body, the entire earth cultivation world cannot do anything about him. In a previous life, he had reached the Yuhuangding of Mount Taishan Mountain and the Dragon and Tiger Mountain. After making up his mind, Suyu's mind expressed his will, and his mind hooked onto the water-blue planet in the mural. Overlooking Earth's star, the white clouds and blue ocean intertwine, creating a beautiful scenery. However, Suyu didn't care about the scenery this time. He immediately found those two big rivers and then found that famous mountain on the land of Qilu. He expressed his intention with a divine expression that he wanted to come here. At another location, Longhu Mountain, there are Xiantai cultivators and ancestral artifacts passed down, and he doesn't want to conflict with them. Suyu looked around and found that the spiritual energy of this cave had weakened significantly. His extraordinary physique indeed focused on resources. In the original work, Yi Yishui, the son of Yi Fan, was born and almost drained the spiritual energy of the entire Gaochen ancient star. Now, his chaotic body, which is less than half of it, also has a trend towards this direction. The path of cultivation is long and arduous. This way to Earth, he can get the greatest chance. After Suyu's divine idea expressed his will, the ghost-faced Jade Ju directly showed the landform of Mount Taishan Mountain in his understanding of the sea. The surface of the purple-notched jade pendant erupted with a dazzling light, and then drew the void law to construct a teleportation array. Amidst the strands of chaotic energy, the mysterious aura on the jade pendant of the ghost-faced person's face gradually sublimates, intertwined with the spatial laws of the void. In an instant, the fragrance flows through countless paths, with billions of immortal lights circulating endlessly, exerting immense pressure. Above its jade pendant, there seems to be an invisible hand rotating the universe, stripping away time and space. Suyu triggered the heavenly swallowing demon guy and saw a bone palm through a spotless mirror. There was no flesh or blood on it, and the terrifying laws of time and space were like gentle fish in the hands of the white bone, very calm. Through the fragments of time and space, it seemed that the endless void in the universe could be seen. The purple light rushed up into the sky, shining brilliantly on the entire river, with countless spatial rules fluctuating in the light. A void passage was opened up, and the purple light enveloped Suyu, like a train of horses entering the void passage. Suyu sat quietly in the light, wanting to see clearly around him, but the distance of the star field was too broad. He could only see countless shooting stars passing behind him, unable to feel the passage of time, as if he had frozen in this moment forever. This feeling is like an end, silent, like a pause in time. The river of time seems to be eternal stillness. Through the heavenly swallowing magic cover, he can see terrifying spatial turbulence and debris, and his entire body is also immersed in a weightless environment, with a feeling of being top-heavy and weightless. During this process, he couldn't feel the existence of time, passing slowly for a while, but there were countless rivers flowing under his feet, blending with eternity in an instant, as if experiencing a long century. Mount Taishan Mountain is majestic and magnificent. It is regarded as the first of the 5 mountains by the ancients. Numerous literati and poets left poems and essays here, and many emperors celebrated their achievements here. How is de Zongfu? Qilu's youth is yet to come. Mount Taishan has been a symbol of Qilu since ancient times. When you look at the yellow river from the top of the mountain, you will feel magnificent. As the saying goes, Mount Taishan is a small mountain, there is no mountain bigger than it, and history is not ancient. The high cliffs and waterfalls are like clothing, like the crown of the yellow river, majestic yet elegant, and tranquil yet majestic. The residual clouds are like peaks and mountains, and the golden light penetrates through the clouds and breaks through the mist, pouring directly into the world. Coupled with the ethereal clouds and mist, it feels like being in ancient times, like a story of a Qi refining master. Looking up from the foot of the mountain, there are countless famous scenic spots and historical sites along the way, with inscriptions scattered all over. The cliff tablets are solemn, and 5,000 years of civilization are carved on them. From the sacrificial site passing through the imperial palace and Dai temple to the heavenly Jade Emperor Peak, it forms a 10-kilometer-long axis of the earthly paradise of the underworld. At this time, it is the peak season for tourism, and the morning scenery is especially good for tourists. Many people are ready to watch the wonders on the Jade Emperor Peak on the top of Mount Taishan. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and the morning wind was cold and piercing. Then, waves of clouds and mist began to drift, transforming into strange shapes, and becoming much more intense than before. And the trees on Mount Taishan Mountain also sounded far away, and a small crack appeared on the ground of Yuhuangding. Clouds break through and the sun rises, golden light fills the sky, warm sunlight shines on the world, and everyone basks in the morning light. The clouds and mists in the sky surround the whole Mount Taishan mountain top, making the tourists on the Jade Emperor's top feel like they are in a fairyland, and the flowing clouds are at their feet, which is amazing. Everyone is taking photos, communicating, or talking to each other about the changes this morning. However, due to the abnormal weather, this sunrise was even more beautiful and magnificent, especially the cloud scenery, which was mesmerizing, as if it could clear one's physical fatigue. After being baptized by the clouds, the whole person was full of vitality and radiance. In this era of the internet, even celebrity divorces can cause people across the country to enjoy the spectacle together, let alone this extremely rare natural wonder. Videos of tourists have been uploaded to the internet, and this phenomenon has rapidly heated up, causing discussions among netizens. Some even say it is auspicious and have been praised by netizens, who then cross-talk and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the spectacle misleads the country," being criticized angrily. "I see you are quite delaying things." Bilibili, Tiaba, and Hupu quickly followed up, and countless melons appeared in an instant soon. The relevant department, the Geological Bureau, provided an explanation. This spectacle is caused by the slight movement of the Mount Taishan underground plate, which is a rare phenomenon in 1,000 years. According to the altitude of Mount Taishan Mountain, this kind of situation is not normally possible, but it is affected by this plate movement. Suyu sat quietly on the top of the Jade Emperor of Mount Taishan Mountain, his face a little weak. It was purely because of the space rules that made his soul tired. The rapidly moving space rules were not something he could understand. I don't know how long time has passed, but the only thing that can be confirmed is that Kowloon coffin pulling hasn't arrived yet. In the light and shadow of the mural, 9 dragons pulling coffin is still some distance away from Earth. After taking a glance at the familiar environment, Suyu was somewhat moved. The wanderer returning to his hometown, although it is only a parallel time and space, is also a form of emotional comfort with consistent mountains and rivers. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Holy Bone Jade Talisman. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 10 Holy Bone Jade Talisman. Suyu has just arrived at the station, but in order not to affect the legendary life of Yi Tiandi, he deliberately concealed his figure early on, not wanting to affect the luxurious frame of Yi Tiandi's one-way journey of 9 dragons coffin pulling. That way, the starting party of this frame will definitely not be satisfied, the Empress is not satisfied, and the consequences are very serious. In order to be foolproof, Suyu has already made a two-pronged plan. If the movement of the star field transmission caused by the Jade Ring is too big, and the government and the local government are alarmed, Mount Taishan is under martial law and is forbidden to visit, he will still take Yi Fan to the 9 dragons coffin. He even thought of words to deceive Yi Fan when the time came. My fellow Taoist, please take a step back. I observe that my fellow Taoist has a towering head and a posture of cultivating immortals. He has a great connection with my sect. Why bother being infatuated with this vast world of mortals? It's better to follow the example of ancient times and climb the path of heaven with the poor Taoist, step on songs, and cover the sky with his fingers. Isn't it beautiful? Of course, the timeline for returning to the original work is also good, and he doesn't need to go too far. Mount Taishan clouds and mists on the internet dominate the headlines, and Yi Fan of the hotel has also read the news and is full of expectations for the trip to Mount Taishan tomorrow. Last night's big run caused him to lose face, and those who had previously been indifferent to him also changed their attitudes. Although Yi Fan is not the kind of person who cares about others' opinions, who would like to hear others' sarcasm and ridicule. If there really is that kind of person, without 7 emotions and 6 desires, then can a person still be considered a person? At least he can't. He turned around and looked out the window at the passing vehicles on the asphalt road below. His thoughts couldn't help but fly towards the past campus life, as well as the unforgettable woman. Today's meeting with Li Xiaoman made his emotions fluctuate. Finally, Yi Fan smiled with relief and let the past pass her by. The journey of life is still far away, and this is just a scenic interlude on the roadside. At the front desk of the hotel, Wang Ziwen and Zhou Yi also talked about the Mount Taishan mist. Wang Ziwen stared at his phone for a while, then turned to Zhou Yi and said, I don't know if I can witness this kind of scene tomorrow. I heard that this situation happens once in 1,000 years, and it's rumored to be unbelievable online. I hope so. Zhou Yi, who is booking tickets, responds with a smile and is full of expectation for his trip to Mount Taishan tomorrow. They were responsible for all the expenses of this student union, but for him and Wang Ziwen, it was nothing. In their capacity, these were just a drop in the bucket. Can't you buy it? The tickets have already been sold out, so adding money won't work. It's nothing, Zhou Yi. Experts have said it's a once-in-a-millennium wonder, and it definitely won't happen again the next day. After the incident this morning, the number of people buying and booking tickets has surged. Everyone in their party was going to visit the sunset scene of Mount Taishan, but they all bought tickets. Then after the scene of clouds and mist happened, Zhou Yi and Wang Ziwen offered to go in the morning, but they were still a little late. At the moment, Suyu is watching the scenery of Mount Taishan carefully, unaware that he almost changed the timeline. He felt the heaviness of time, it was the accumulation of time, the accumulation of time. This mountain is extraordinary, it has gone through too long time, making people appreciate a kind of heaviness. Since arriving in this world, Suyu has been practicing alone these days. Now, returning to the desolate land and walking in the crowd, there is a hint of ethereal feeling. The flow of people coming and going on the mountain road cannot affect him, just follow the flow. His footsteps became lighter and more relaxed, his essence and spirit gradually merged, faintly blending with the entire world. Instead of driving a rainbow, he walked down Mount Taishan step by step and went to find Yi Fan's trace. At this time, the 9 dragons coffin has not yet arrived on Earth, but it is almost there. At most, it will arrive on Earth in these 2 days. In the scene presented by Yu Ju, he saw the appearance of the solar system, the 8 planets, and he would never forget them. Yi Fan and his party were also in a hotel at the foot of Mount Taishan Mountain at this time. There are 5 hotels at the foot of Mount Taishan Mountain. One by one, we can find them soon. He knows that Yi Fan is staying at the foot of the mountain today, and that the imperial soldier, Dashan, who was remembered by former scholars, also stops here. Quickly, he found the specific hotel and looked at the vast group of people in front of it. Among them, one was full of vitality and vitality. Far surpassing other mortals, Su Yu's immortal heavenly skill is highly sensitive to this special physique. The ancient holy body, Yi Fan. Finally found it. Su Yu did not appear to meet, but instead activated his magic and directly obtained a strand of Yi Fan's hair from the air. He then took out a black jade plate, placed the hair on it, and silently recited a spell. He is using divination to search for his blood relatives, which is a tool he has prepared for himself. Firstly, bestow kindness, but with a small amount of treasure, one can reap huge rewards in the future, such as the 9 secrets or immortal gold divine medicine. This can be considered a priceless transaction. Su Yu is not proficient in this divination technique, making it difficult for a monk to do so. However, nowadays, Yi Fan is only a mortal and cannot escape his divination. In a short time, the secret technique was successful. The hair on the black jade plate pointed a direction far away. This was the direction of his closest relatives. Yi Fan had no brothers and sisters, but this was the direction of his parents. He rose directly into the air and flew towards his destination. On the way, Su Yu discovered a middle-aged man in the realm of suffering in Jade City, and he easily subdued him. And this middle-aged man's identity is very extraordinary, with a high status in Jade province. Looking at the other person's earnest gaze, Su Yu smiled and then took him to experience a wave of flight. During this period on Earth, although the suppression of laws was extremely severe, Su Yu had a heavenly swallowing demon cap on his body, and he himself was also a quadrupole cultivator, able to travel in the air here. After handing him a transmission jade pendant, Su Yu rode away in the wind like a fairy. Leaving the middle-aged man secretly regretful, he twice requested Su Yu to accept him as his disciple, but both were rejected. Looking at the flame god source in his hand, the middle-aged man's gaze furrowed and soon a helicopter appeared, taking him away. Chaoxia dyed the sky red in the east, and Su Yu arrived at B City. This city was very prosperous, with skyscrapers towering in the glow of the clouds, rendering it as if inlaid with a layer of golden border. The hair on the jade plate swung its position again, this time facing the outskirts of the city, and finally stopped at a small county town. Su Yu landed by an artificial lake, surrounded by several elderly people fishing. Su Yu's gaze remained on a middle-aged man, who was about half a century old but very tough, and his blood was significantly higher than the surrounding elderly people. Yi Fan has been going to Beidou for over 20 years now, and looking back, the saddest thing in the world is that his son wants to be raised but his relatives do not treat him. Especially since Yi Fan is still an only child, his parents have been waiting for him to return, but have not. When Yi Fan had the ability to return to Earth, there was only 1 diary and 2 graves left. This is the backup that Su Yu is prepared to leave for himself, to extend the life of his parents and make Yi Fan owe him cause and effect. He took out 1,000-year-old spiritual medicine, which was already the highest aged medicinal material, in his storage bag. Then he took some auxiliary herbs for blending, and then took out 10 pounds of Huiyu Yuan, which is also a rare source that can strengthen a person's physique. There is also a jar of spiritual spring. He originally intended to hand over the scriptures for cultivating martial arts to them, but he was also worried that his good intentions would cause harm. If the 2 of Yi Fan's parents were to suffer another upheaval in the cultivation world after extending their lives, what was the significance of his actions? He flew high into the air, with thick clouds beneath his feet, and the scorching sunlight shining directly on the white clouds. Su Yu directly sacrificed the damaged silver moon jade pagoda, which shone brilliantly and flowed with chaotic energy. The 3 damaged eaves revealed a terrifying divine energy. Then, he took out 2 pieces of sage bones and launched 2 attacks, using the sealing technique to seal the 2 attacks inside the sage bones. The 2 fragments of sage bones are more crystal clear than gemstones, like 2 top-dot quality sheepskin white jade. Many divine powers are scattered in the sky, and his current state cannot fully control the holy soldiers. This method is very luxurious. With his strength, the divine light produced by the holy soldiers is enough to kill the existence of the 9 transformations of the dragon. Even the Sendai dare not forcefully take it. After being sealed into the holy bone as a talisman, its power is greatly reduced, only the power of the 5 transformations of the dragon, and it can only defend. But it contains the Holy Spirit machine, and cultivators on earth who truly have the ability to break defense can recognize the Holy Spirit, and they will also be wary of it. The materials used in this method are far more than those of the 2 defensive jade charms that transform into dragons and 5 changes. Although the 2 relics of saints have lost most of their essence, they are still the best materials. Unfortunately, he doesn't have this kind of jade talisman in his hand, but there is still a lot of space for his holy weapon with this kind of saint's bones, and it will come in return. Furthermore, the cause and effect he owed to the Empress before was slightly repaid by her brother's parents. So you placed all these things in a jade clean bottle, and then left behind a divine sense jade pendant to activate the magic. These 2 items, like mustard seeds and nesumi, slowly turned into dust and fell into Yifan's father's pocket. Afterwards, Suyu found the middle-aged man through the transmission jade talisman and offered him a piece of fire jade as a reward to take care of the 2 elderly people. After everything was completed, Suyu drifted away. This time, he slightly repaid the Empress's cause and effect, and formed a good relationship. End of this chapter.